Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series and our daily Arsenal transfer show every single day at 8 a.m. and going through the rest of the season and, of course, into the transfer window right up until its conclusion. We've got a lot of news to talk about today, but isn't it nice to wake up after an Arsenal win, especially against Chelsea, having done the double over them this season, in a season in which has been very difficult to kind of, get up for these sorts of things and to enjoy the football. It is certainly a nicer feeling. I feel more awake. I feel more alert and ready, which is a nice way to start the day. And I think Arsenal winning certainly has a lot to do with that. So I'm very thankful for that. And I much appreciate the boys for putting in the defensive effort to keep a gifted 1-0 win. If you want to see my live reaction to that victory, of course you can do by going onto the channel and clicking on our Raw Reaction show from yesterday evening. But we've got a lot of news today to get through. So without further ado, let's kick things off with Ryan Bertrand. The Southampton defender has seemingly, or most definitely now, is we need to be thinking about maybe pursuing this guy even more so than we were previously, because he has confirmed that he will be leaving Southampton at the end of this season. He said during a pretty long statement, if you want to read the whole thing, you can go on to his Twitter account, and it's right there on his Instagram as well. It says, "This has been a difficult decision for me, but the time has come for me to seek a new challenge and find a new home that allows me the same freedom to play and maximize," I think he says, "my contribution to the team on StreamYard." It's exceptionally small writing that I'm trying to read. And I think that there's two ways of looking at this. The good news is that, yes, he's leaving, he's going. And that's going to be a really positive thing for Arsenal in regards to knowing that they can get him should they want to. It's going to be a free deal if they can go and get him. The bad news is that he talks about maximising his contribution to the team. Now, I don't know whether or not that is a bit of a hint that he would not want to join Arsenal, because, of course, if he comes to Arsenal, he's not going to be getting the regular minutes that are needed, and he's not going to be getting this consistent gameplay, because we know that Kieran Tierney is our starting left back, and if he comes to Arsenal, he is certainly going to be providing cover, and he's going to be a backup to Kieran Tierney. So if that's something that he is not interested in doing and being, then Arsenal is probably not the right place for him to go to, which does open up the option of maybe going to somewhere like AC Milan, who of course will be losing Diogo Dalot, who's going back to Manchester United from loan at somewhere he's been linked to. He's been to Monaco as well. If he wants to move abroad and experience that before the end of his season, it's obviously something that is going to be interesting to see how he moves on. But I would turn around and say that it seems that with this statement, it's both opened and closed doors for Arsenal. But it's one that we're going to have to follow and wait and see as to how much legitimacy there is around reports of Arsenal really pushing for the soon-to-be former Southampton left-back. Now, before we get onto our main kind of stories, I do want to address more Moussa Dembele situation. This hasn't gone away in the last 24 hours. I tried to chase up a couple of people that might know a few things, and they basically said that they can't deny, or they can't say that Arsenal aren't, and that this isn't like a fake rumour. It seems to be very much the case that Arsenal are interested in this guy. And so for that reason, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing a tactical breakdown on Moussa Dembele, checking out his quality, seeing how he compares to some of our current strikers, and of course a striker that we've also been linked to. I'm basically, with the way he's performed at Atletico Madrid, it's not that he's performed there. He's had a lot of issues there, including massive health problems like collapsing on the training field. So we're going to be looking at kind of his half season at Lyon before he moved, and the whole of last season as well, and see how he's looking in those statistical areas, because it's not possible to look at his stats from his time at Atletico Madrid, because he really just hasn't played when they've got Suarez and João Felix, and it seems a bit of a waste. And we know what Atleti are like in terms of wasting some of their transfers. So before I judge too quickly this guy, and I know Yannick got very annoyed in the chat in the comment section about this, I want to give him a bit of a chance. I want to keep an open mind about this, and so therefore I thought doing a tactical breakdown whereby comparing him to other players, and as well as, of course, the expert insight from our French correspondent, Jeremy Smith, as well, is going to give us more insight on him as well. So make sure you tune in and subscribe to the channel to get that content around 3 o'clock UK time. Let's go on to the right back situation then, and then I'll get some of your thoughts in the chat box as well. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but if you are on social media, the historic Arsenal accounts, the AFC Bell, resurrected his Arsenal transfer news career. I say he, we don't know who it is, to be fair. And they have resurrected the looking at Arsenal's transfers, and right back became a very key theme across this. First of all, addressing the Achraf Hakimi, anyone that was desperately hoping and praying to see Achraf Hakimi at Arsenal. From what they have said and from other information that's come out previously from other sources, is that it's an exceptionally difficult deal to happen. They don't really see it happening. Even his representatives were Arsenal to come and try and do it. It's really difficult because of the feeders that are involved, the want to do it. And they don't believe that Arsenal are ready to pay the kind of figures that it would take to bring Hakimi to Arsenal. So that's a bit of a shame because he is a really good, quiet player going forward. So I do still have questions about him defensively, but I still think he would certainly have upgraded upon what we've got by quite a distance. Next one is Emerson. Arsenal are certainly confirmed to be very interested in this guy. And if this persists, we're certainly going to be doing a tactical breakdown on him at some point as well. But things have slowed down a little bit because of other information about someone further up their list of right backs, and that's Max Aarons of Norwich. And also for that reason, we will be doing another tactical breakdown. In fact, that's going to be coming out on Saturday. Some thoughts and feelings about Max Aarons and his tactical breakdown. We've got some Norwich expert insight for him as well. So make sure, as I say already, that you subscribe and you're getting that content. But they're kind of three players that Arsenal are looking at the moment for sure. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box regarding our situations. Patrick says, do we play with a right back anymore? Which is a completely fair question after Arsenal started Bukayo Saka in a weird right wing back hybrid weird type of role. Not really sure if that is going to be something we see going forwards or not, but it is, and clearly did work for the most part. Us having three centre-backs certainly helped us keep a clean sheet yesterday, and we matched up Chelsea very well. I do think that the long-term plan is to not play with three at the back. If we play three at the back against Crystal Palace next week, I'd be very, very surprised. Very surprised, and I expect us to go back to that back four and be a little bit more offensive because we need to win that game. We need to win the last two games to set us up anywhere close to finishing anywhere near a European spot this season. Philly Gooner says, Aarons, Buendia, double dip. I've got a little bit of info on Buendia in a second, so just hold your horses on that one. Yannick says, please get Aarons, so the chances of us getting Buendia full. Manu Clerk says, any information on Bertrand's versatility? As far as I'm aware, mate, he's not one that can play on the other side like a Cedric can. He is very much a left-sided player, so that's all I know in regards to his versatility. Jim Joseph says Emerson seems to be the more realistic option. I disagree because I think the interesting part about Emerson is that he has a very tricky transfer situation with Barcelona, whereby Barcelona and Real Betis are effectively a joint ownership for the player, something that was made illegal in definitely Italy. I'm not sure if it is in France, but he basically can be bought by Barcelona for around 6 to 9 million euros, and then they could choose to sell him on. I think that they would be willing to sell him on because they've got Sergino Dest that they've invested in. They've got Sergio Roberto as well. They've got players at right back. So maybe they'll be willing to let him go for an okay fee. It's one that we'll have to keep an eye on, but it's a tricky one to do. It really, really is. Wilson says, Dembele, are you serious, Tom? Well, yep, we are serious, and we're going to go and look into him a little bit later this afternoon. Muspus says, France? You mean Spain? Did I say France? Yes, sorry, Spain. I don't know why. I've got France on the brain at the moment, talking about Moussa Dembele all the time. African Theory TV says, I'd take Jorge de Frutos, another ex-Real Madrid player, or even Lucas Vasquez as a stopgap. The thing about Lucas Vasquez is that obviously he's been playing in Real Madrid for a long, long time. He has covered at right back a lot this season, but he is now out of action with a serious knee injury. So I wouldn't be going down that route at all because of the serious knee injury. The problem that he's got right now is a big, big issue. Dip says, we need Max for our right back and we need Daka for the striker option. People know how much of a fan I am of Patson Daka, so that would not be an issue for me whatsoever. So that Max Aarons tactical breakdown will be out on Saturday, so make sure you tune in for that. And then speaking of Norwich players, Emi Buendia. Now, the news on Emi Buendia is not positive, unfortunately. Again, the Bell told us yesterday, and from chasing up a few of the things to confirm it, it is seemingly the case that Arsenal have not made a single bit of contact with his reps since back basically before the January transfer window, when Arsenal were looking for an attacking midfielder. They wanted Buendia then. They inquired about Buendia then. They weren't going to let him go unless it was for a ridiculous fee. They felt that they didn't need to let him go because he was so important for getting them back into the Premier League this season, which was achieved. And he was arguably, I don't think even arguably, I think he was the player of the league last season in the Championship. And they didn't need to sell him because the money that they were going to get from getting promoted was going to completely eclipse any fee paid for this guy. If he wanted to leave, that would change things. But he never pushed for anything. He wasn't seemingly willing to push for a transfer. And Arsenal have now cooled their interest. What that means for Arsenal's pursuit of an attacking midfielder this summer is unknown at this stage. We don't know the main target. It still could be Erdegaard, but I look at that as very unlikely. It could be someone like Nabil Fekir. It could be Houssem Aouar. We just don't know what kind of attacking midfielder Arsenal are really going to be pursuing this summer. It is an area of the pitch that has gone very quiet in terms of specific names. But don't worry, as soon as we find out anything, we'll be letting you know every single 8 a.m. UK time. So make sure you're subscribed for all of that content when it comes up. Last main transfer story involves our two very special players, Emile-Smith Rowe and Kieran Tierney. Now, the situation with these two is, of course, a contract situation. Emile-Smith Rowe's contract runs out in 2023, and Tierney's runs out around the same time, if not a year later. So Arsenal are looking, of course, to try and sign these two up to a new contract as soon as feasibly possible, because they've obviously been very impressed by them. But the interesting part about this story isn't the fact that they want to sign them up to new deals. It's that the Arsenal squad has apparently turned around and told the ownership that for them to sign new deals and for them to kind of commit to the club, they wanted assurances that a certain someone would still be at the club. And that certain someone is Mikel Arteta, which I know for a lot of people will come as a little bit of a surprise. Very interesting kind of about the fact that the players want assurances that he is going to be their coach. It does go to kind of prove that they are very much behind him, and he has certainly not lost the dressing room and still commands a hell of a lot of respect in the dressing room as well. But the fact that players that are in negotiations for contracts, which we are led to believe are the likes of Smith Rowe and Kieran Tierney, the fact that they are saying they want assurances that he's still going to be here is big for the Spaniard. It really, really is. And for a lot of people, including myself, that feel he probably should have gone after the Villarreal exit, this probably changes things for a few people and how they perceive him as a coach. And also when we have a little bit of a discussion a little bit later on today about how things are at the club and moving forwards, which I'll talk to you about in a second, it is going to be a very interesting conversation when this comes up. That's what is very, very strange. But yeah, there you go. That's how it works. ATO2 says, where's this information come from? It's come from The Athletic, specifically with a couple of other kind of cross-references in there as well. But that's where it's from. So there you go. Tom says, that's a good sign. They're still behind Arteta. It ensures stability for next season. Gonzo says, wow, that's mental. The man management is going into hyperdrive right now. Indanil says, The Athletic also mentioned the likes of Holding, Chambers, and our current British core. Does that mean that Chambers could be offered a new contract? Very possibly. And if you did watch our breakdown of the keep and sell parts of the squad yesterday, where 320,000 votes from Arsenal fans decided the futures of the players in the squad, Callum Chambers came out with a 75% plus keep rating from all of those votes. So you'd have to say and turn around that the fan base seemingly is happy with Callum Chambers being kept at the club after his performances in the second half of this season. So there you go. Sumalia says, what about Julian Brandt? Not for me. Not who I want. Not interested at all, to be honest, in Julian Brandt. I have no ambition to go out and get him as an attacking midfielder whatsoever. Ansgar says, PR spin. I don't trust the Athletic at all. I mean, to be very clear, and this comes straight from the source itself, is that the Athletic is not the club is not the biggest fan of the Athletic. It's not like the days where David Ornstein was working for the BBC and he had a direct route between the club and him. It's that they aren't the biggest fan of the Athletic because they have revealed stories, especially in regards to the ownership, that they aren't particularly keen about being out there. So I would have said before, take it with a pinch of salt because of that direct line between the club and the likes of David Ornstein when he was at the BBC. But with the Athletic, it is different. You can choose to believe it. You don't have to. I'm just reporting the news that we've been told, and that's what's out there. So there you go. Last thing before we wrap up today's show is that this evening there will be a podcast tonight at 8:30 p.m. UK time. We'll be joined by Raf, Johnny Cochran and French to go through all of the interesting stuff from yesterday, the game against Chelsea, and get our thoughts on the situation, the race for Europe that is seemingly and weirdly more real than we ever could have dreamed, and get their thoughts on an interesting statistic about the form table since Christmas, that Arsenal currently sit in third place in the table if it was to be done from Christmas. I know a lot of people turn around and say, well, it doesn't start at Christmas, and you're right, but there isn't really much more that could have been done in the league than being behind Man United and Man City right now. So that's going to be a very interesting conversation with some people that I know are very much sceptical about the manager's situation, that is for sure. So make sure you tune in for that tonight. There is also, as I've said already, going to be another show at 3 o'clock. So you get 3 doses of TGT today. And there's also on 101, which is my day job where I write about football, going to be an interesting interview with a player that Arsenal have played against already this season in Europe. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with him. I'll reveal a little bit more about that probably on Saturday, but I'm looking forward to that. I will see you again very, very soon. It's been a pleasure to speak to you as always. Make sure you drop a like on the video and subscribe so that you never miss a show and you tune in to all of our daily 8 a.m. transfer updates. But it's been a pleasure to speak to you, and I will see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.